Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we are about 3.5 months into the year, but I wanted to do kind of a first quarter wrap up and go through all of my 5-star reads from January to the end of March. I think up to this point I've read 36 or 38 books so far. I do listen to a lot of books on audio because I drive for work, but we do like to read a lot in this house. Let's get into it. To be fully transparent with you, this was a reread. I really couldn't wait very long after reading it the first time to dive in again because apparently, I don't know, I enjoy emotional damage. I don't know what to tell you, but that's what happened. Obviously, this was a 5-star read for me. I actually read the entire Hunger Games universe at this point, like the trilogy, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then this one last year for the very first time. I never read them as a teenager, but I did watch the movies. Ugh. Honestly, tragic. But now with the Sunrise on the Reaping trailer that just came out, I have just been thinking about this every day and crying my freaking eyes out to Sunrise on the Reaping edits. And quite honestly, I'm not sure how I'm going to get through the movie. Like, who would want to watch that on screen? Right? Not me, but I'll be for sure pre ordering my ticket. So, yeah, I just think that this was probably my favorite book in the entire series. Catching Fire, easily my second favorite, but this just like brought everything like full circle for me. And yeah, hey Mitch, like listen, protect that man at all costs. At all costs. It hurt. It hurt me. Yeah, I need to stop rereading that. My grandmother asked me to tell you she's sorry. I The title of this book alone is just really funny to me, but this is one of many on my Friedrich Bachmann journey. I started reading Friedrich Bachmann last year. I started with Beartown and was absolutely just like blown out of the water by his style of writing, the emotional depth that he has to just write about like the human experience. And I feel like I really hope I'm not being just like absolutely blinded by the time of day I chose to film. It's fine. I just think he has this incredible way of like, yeah, writing about the human experience, writing about human connection, and just like things that you wouldn't think you'd be emotionally connected to. This is literally about like a 9-year-old or an 11-year-old and her journey with like grief and family and people in her neighborhood area that she or her like housing complex that she lives with, her relationship with her grandmother. Basically, her and her Grammy are super close. Her grandma passes away and kind of leaves her on this like journey slash like Easter egg hunt almost to meet different people that she thinks are going to be like supports for her granddaughter. And her grandmother asked her to tell them that she was sorry. And I I didn't think I was going to get as emotional in this one because I was like, I mean, it's going to be sweet, I'm sure. Am I going to emotionally relate to it? Yes. Yes is the answer to that. I was actually shocked by this. Just the depth. The dog. I can't. It's 5 stars. Honestly, though, if you haven't read anything by Friedrich Bachmann and you like literary fiction, you like really emotionally compelling stories, I honestly implore you to pick him up because I've been shocked. I've read almost every single book he's written up to this point, and every single one of them has been either 4.5 or 5 stars for me. I just can't get enough of his writing style. So that, uh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even have anything carbonated. Whatever. That leads me to the winners. So when I first picked up Beartown, I did not realize that it was in fact a trilogy. So Beartown, also Friedrich Bachmann. We have Beartown as the first one, Us Against You is the second one, and then The Winners is wrapping up the trilogy. She's a little bit thick, but don't be scared. There was not a single page in this that wasn't like absolutely compelling, moving, emotional, jarring, like you're hooked. You're hooked the entire way through. So, Beartown, the trilogy overall, follows this hockey town in Sweden. And the town is, for lack of a better word, obsessed with hockey, but it's because it's kind of their livelihood. They're a really small town. It's Beartown and Hied, and they're kind of like side by side, and they're rivals and they're hockey teams. And it kind of, as it goes on, you find out they're rivals for a lot of other things in terms of like government funding, finances, like financial support for the town, jobs. And so it not only is about this hockey team, but it's like the managers, the family of the players themselves, and just overall like relationships within this town. Again, heavy on the human experience. Yeah. And there are some really heavy topics in all of Friedrich Buckman books, but in this trilogy, this trilogy specifically, there are some heavy sexual assault conversations. So, trigger warnings for that if you're going to dive in. There's nothing really explicit, but it is pretty emotional. Yeah. Moving on, I just read this one. I have found for myself recently that I've been really, really, really into young adult books. I think the reason for that is like, as I've been going on my reading journey, I've kind of dabbled in like some smut, some romance. And while I like those genres, I really like books that just have a lot of yearning and don't have a lot of smut. So this is not a romance per se. But don't let ugh, don't let the forest in by C.E. Drews. First of all, I just love this book. Super floppy, but then it has these super cutesy like sprayed edges, and it's got this cool art on the back. Well, as I turn it around, literally the front of this book is gorgeous. It's kind of got this like, it's giving like gothic botanical. So this is like young adult gothic horror but with botanical themes. So yeah, Thomas and Andrew. This follows Thomas and Andrew, and they both attend a boarding school in like Massachusetts, northeast USA. But they're at a boarding school, and they both have like different challenges in their lives. They're in high school, but they are super deeply attached to each other. They come back from summer vacation, and basically some really weird shit starts going down. Thomas, I'm trying to make sure I'm not mixing up their names because that would be embarrassing. Thomas, I believe, is our writer, and Andrew is. No, I'm wrong. Thomas is our. Am I? Okay. Thomas is our artist. Andrew is our author. He writes these like really dark gothic stories all revolving around like death and dying and longing and like romance. And then Thomas, yep, I'm tracking it. Thomas is an artist, and so oftentimes he'll kind of take Andrew's stories and bring them to life in these like really grotesque fantasy art pieces. And they come back from vacation. Thomas's parents have gone missing. He's being investigated by the police. Weird stuff is going on. But ultimately, what ends up happening is that these monsters start showing up outside the school grounds, and they are fighting these monsters together. That's all I'm really going to say. But this was like, I was actually blown away just in terms of like the creepiness level, the gothic vibes, the way that things are described, and like how dark this was. I loved it. And it definitely was like young adult writing, but it just was like so atmospheric that I read this in two sittings. I could have read this in a single sitting, but I did in fact start it at like 8 p.m. at night. So, I personally need like 10 hours of sleep a night and was not willing to sacrifice that, but I could have read it in one sitting. This was to die for. Yeah. So I know there's another one by C.E. Drews. I think it's called Hazelthorn, but I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback because it's going to match this edition with sprayed edges. And I kind of also just want to wait for it to come out in paperback so that I can like look forward to something that I know I'm really going to enjoy. So that was my thought process. Ugh. Okay. So we're going to dive in then, because the next thing that I started reading, let me grab my hefty old books over here, was the Boys of Tommen series. Dog. Okay. So Binding 13 and Keeping 13, both of these immediate 5 stars for me. I heard so many people talk about this series for so many years. These books are like so floppy, it's insane. But I hadn't started them just because I was a little bit scared, and not scared of like the emotional damage, because your girl loves to hurt emotionally. I love to hurt my own feelings with literature. That did in fact happen. But just the sheer size of these, like honestly, even Binding 13 is like, it looks like it's not that big, but there are a lot of words on these pages. Keeping 13 is huge, and then I'm about to finish Redeeming Six, and that book has got to be like 1,000 pages. They're so big, and I'm just in the middle of like so many different series with other large books that I was just intimidated and didn't want to like fully dive in, especially because it's not a completed series. But honestly, one of the best choices of my life. Ugh, so these were 5 stars easily. But so these follow Johnny and Shannon, and Redeeming or Saving Six and Redeeming Six, the next 2 books, follow Johnny and Aoife. Johnny is Shannon's older brother. And just, it's the same timeline over again of like each of these 2 books. And you're kind of just like going back and reliving every horrific thing that happened in these 2 books in Saving Six and Redeeming Six, but from Joey's perspective. And I have never loved a character like I love Joey Lynch. Holy, holy shit. The amount of trauma, the amount of just pure heartbreak, fucked up things that this family goes through, but like getting to relive it and like knowing what's happening and seeing it from like his eyes and what he's going through and their relationship. Aoife Malloy is one of my all-time favorite female main characters of all time. She is an absolute badass, but she is so strong. She's incredible boundaries, but she's also just so human, right? Like when you love a person, a lot of times you do things that maybe aren't super helpful for them because you're just trying to figure out how to get by and support the person that you love. And I just love their story together. I think she's just such an incredible person, and I have like genuinely contemplated like, do I put Aoife on my baby names list for potential children? Like, yeah, anyway, I am deep in that story right now, so I will probably be finishing that tonight, and it'll definitely be 5 stars. I think I gave Saving Six 4.5 stars. It's shorter, not as much happened, and we didn't hit like the peak emotional things yet. So now we have, and the emotional damage is, it's setting in. I literally was listening to the end of it on audiobook today as I was driving home from work and just sobbing, and I just had the thought, I was like, I really hope that nothing happens where I get like pulled over or in an accident or something, and someone's like, why are you literally sitting in your car sobbing? Like, are you good? No, I'm not good. I'm absolutely not good, because Chloe Walsh is like ripping my heart out. Um, yeah, sad bit of disappointment. I got the first one and I didn't realize that these ones had pretty sprayed edges. So I do have a mismatched collection, but the spines match, and that's all that matters. So yeah, those are my 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far this year. I'm actually pretty impressed. I have been able to limit it to 6. I feel like my rating system is a little bit out of whack. And I think I will have an emotional connection to a book and just be like, ah, fuck it, 5 stars. John wouldn't change anything. 5 stars is perfect. And then sometimes I go back and I'm like, was it though? Was it? So 6 is pretty good. And yeah, some favorites of all time for sure. Like Boys of Tommen, haven't finished it yet. I am terrified for the last couple books, but some of just like my favorite characters of any fictional storyline that I've ever read, and I'm actually horrified to see that on screen, but like you couldn't stop me if you tried. So, Anyway, stay tuned. I will be coming back in a couple weeks with my wrap up for this month. I didn't read as many books this month, but we had some bangers. So tune back in for that. Bye.